Did you know the Friends of Hope is an initiative of Hope Media? Through this initiative, we are able to partner with others who are keen to ensure that we keep hope alive. Through your support, we are sharing the hope we have with many others who are yet to embrace hope. You too can become a part of this initiative today. Send your contribution of any amount to M-Pesa paybill number 933933. Account name Friends of Hope. For more information regarding Friends of Hope, please email friendsofhope@hopefm.org or SMS FOH to 20933. Join Friends of Hope today. Friends of Hope, keeping hope alive. Another quality service from Christ is the Answer Ministries.
And it's a blessed Monday morning that the Lord has given to us. My name is Wambui Mburu, and with us is Bishop of Christ is the Answer Ministries, Bishop David Oginde. As today we pick it up on matters to do with leaders and followers. We call this the Leadership Forum, on air on Radio Hope FM. It's on air also on YouTube. We're on air also on Facebook, and you can get in touch with us. The hashtag is @HopeFM Live. So it's a blessed morning. Bishop, if you could join me and tell us what perhaps has been on your heart. I know you were preaching yesterday on how to hear God's voice. Oh, that was awesome, Bishop. That was really awesome. Very simple, very profound, I thought. Very simple and very profound. Yes, we thank you for that message. But I just wonder today, is there something else that's been in your spirit that you wouldn't mind sharing with us before we get to matters leadership?
Nothing unusual,
Yes.
I would say. I think there is very, very great concern about the status of the nation in terms of the corruption issues. We saw last week the reports that were being given to us about corruption, the people who are being suspected to be involved in grand corruption. And I think at least from where I sit, we are really getting tired of this whole situation and really asking that something be done that could address this matter once and for all. Whatever that issue or whatever it is that needs to be done, I can't really tell, but something has to be done because we have sung this song for a very long time. And you can sense that Kenyans are getting tired of this whole drama. And so even for me, that is what I'm thinking about, that's what I'm praying about, and that's what we are trusting that we will see some real effort towards minimizing, if not eliminating, this corruption issue.
And where does the back? I was going to ask, where does the buck stop?
Of course, the buck of leadership stops at the president's office because he's the leader of the nation. There are several individuals, groups, agencies that have been set up to help him on that matter, but they are to help him in that leadership. So really, it's for him as a leader to see what can be done to get out of this situation. I think of a place like Singapore. If you read the story of Singapore and their corruption, dealing with the corruption, you find that their former leader took some very drastic measures that then set the country onto a path of non-tolerance to corruption. And that has been sustained over the years. They are not corruption-free, but certainly they are among the countries that are considered to be least in terms of corruption incidences. So it is that kind of drastic steps and measures that could help this nation to get to where it ought to be.
Like what? What's an example of a drastic measure that was done in Singapore?
In Singapore, the prime minister, I think that's what it's called, when he started on the fight against corruption, which was at very, very high levels in the 60s, he took a step that no tolerance on corruption, irrespective of who that person is. That sounds familiar. I mean, it has been said here.
It does. It does.
But what then he did was to make sure that anybody who was caught in corruption, irrespective of who they were, had to bear the consequences. Now, in our system, we still talk about the same, but you see a situation where people who are named in corruption or suspected to be involved in corruption still continue to hold public offices, go about their duties as if nothing has happened, and it makes people feel like this thing is not effective. So you find, therefore, that more and more people get into that process because they know nothing will happen. Perhaps I'll be taken to court, I get bail, I go back to business. 5-6 years down the road, nothing will have happened. So what stops other people from trying their hands on the same? But if it was made such that if indeed you are named in a corruption with the relevant documentation and so on, that period when your case is going on, you are not part of the system. That would hopefully bring some levels and sense of responsibility among our top leaders. But as it is now, you know that there are many people who have been named in corrupt deals, but they are still our leaders.
Might that not be because of the innocent until proved guilty? Might that be what informs that, perhaps?
That is what I call ordinary. And now we are talking about extraordinary.
Okay, all right.
When you're talking about extraordinary, it means that
Yes.
you go beyond the ordinary. The ordinary, yes, everybody is innocent until proved guilty, and we do not want any person who is innocent to be put in a place where they are persecuted or prosecuted for what they have not done. That is true.
Mm-hmm.
It is the right kind of justice. But at the same time, we cannot hide behind that provision to shield people who are obviously guilty from facing the punishment or the consequences of their actions.
Bishop, I totally understand the need for something drastic, something extraordinary. But I also think that I kind of see what they call the catch-22 here, where some malicious fella might just decide to name an innocent Kenyan. And now, because simply you were named, it's just that. And we by the time we prove it was malice, you've suffered a lot. You get what I mean? How do we deal with that during such extraordinary times?
That's why that extraordinary time, that extraordinary provision must also take into account those kinds of things that we are talking about. And that's where leadership comes in, and some of the things we are going to be talking about today, so that it is not misused, it is not abused.
Yes.
But there are situations that even from an ordinary onlooker, who is not does not have any inside information, can see that there's a bit of fire here because there's a lot of smoke. So something needs to be done, we are not saying that they should be executed so that they cannot recover, but really something needs to be done so that people who are in a situation that obviously portrays that something went wrong should be able to bear the consequences. Because resources are in physics what we call matter, and matter is neither destroyed. I mean, it is not destroyed. It only can transform into a different format, but it cannot be destroyed. It's neither created nor destroyed. So when we talk about resources that have been misappropriated or misused, it is somewhere. It is in somebody's pocket somewhere. It cannot be lost, and there are systems for tracing that. So this situation where we find ourselves so helpless and hopeless, I don't think it is right.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Bishop. So going back to last week and our leadership forum discussion, where we were looking at some 8 questions that a leader or an organization can ask itself in regards to innovation. Number 1, we talked about aspire. Do I regard innovation as critical to growth? Do I aspire? That's around what you talked about. Then we talked about number 2, do we choose? The word was choose. From aspire, then we came to choose, then we came to discover, then we came to evolve and accelerate. And then we came to number 6, scale. I liked this one. And then we came to number 7, extend. Do you have external networking? And number 8, we talked about mobilizing and motivation. I think I got those 8. And number 8, we were talking, are your people motivated? Do your members know that they will be rewarded for their innovations, for their innovative ideas?
Yes, very true.
Yes.
You've done well.
I have done well. Where do you want us to go today?
Basically, we, as I said last week, we finalized on, or rather brought to a close, the whole area of innovation. Not because we exhausted everything about innovation. It's a broad subject. There are many things that can be said, but that we have to stop somewhere so that we can address some other different issues. So today I want us to start on something different. Unless you have a question on our previous session.
No, I do not. Although I watched something that I thought that's innovation in the making. Did you see that car they are making? I think it's in Japan, that can fly. A car that will fly.
No, I missed that one.
Innovation. It's coming up. It's coming up. They showed it, and so many questions to be answered still. But they say it's something like it will take at least 3 years for us to really see how it flies. And so do we need a visa to enter this car, and who can afford it? All those things. But so they are at it. Someone is at it.
That's interesting. No, I didn't see that one. The one I saw was this TV that can be put in a vertical position. You can change it if you are using your phone to project. You can. It adapts to your phone. Because there are those people who use like Instagram. They use the portrait format.
Yes.
So if you are using because it uses Wi-Fi to project, So if you're using a vertical to project a video or a picture from Instagram, say, it will automatically rotate to the portrait position.
Wow.
If you're using a landscape, it will rotate to the landscape position. And I thought, wow. And they are saying this is for the younger generation who prefer the portrait. But you don't need to rotate it. It automatically orients to your phone's orientation.
Wow. Wow.
Interesting. So still answering the needs of the people. So you can tell people are actually thinking, and people are the innovative people are innovating. So if we get stuck in the past, we will easily find ourselves out of business.
Wow. Wow. All right. I actually wondered to myself, why are there so? It's a question I've kept asking you. It's about what goes into the making of an innovator. How can someone just come up with such great ideas? And sometimes they are not even Christians. I can't say it was given of the Spirit, because the Spirit can just give you a big, huge idea, an innovative idea. Some of these people are just, they're not even Christians, and they just come up with a creative thing. Sometimes I wonder, is it a gift?
It is both a gift and orientation. Because let me first answer or address the issue of Christian or not.
Mm-hmm.
All of human beings were created in the image of God. That means that we have attributes of God, just like your child would have your attributes, your characteristics that they are born with. Now, whether they go astray or not does not matter. They have your traits because they are your children. So they some of them will talk like you, some of them will work like you, some of them, and they will pick the good, the bad, of your trait along the way. So you may see yourself in your children. And so God creating us in his image means that we have God's attributes, God's traits that he put in us, which you find that is not in animals. That is a big distinction, because animals are not created in God's image. Animals were spoken into being, and all other creatures were spoken into being. But human beings, the Bible says, were created in the image of God.
Of God. Yes.
Now, that image of God, part of it is creativity, because God is creative. He is the most creative being. I think I've mentioned here that the creativity of God is unmatched. You just look at some of the God's creations and just what he has done with each and every of its creation, and you find that there is a lot of creativity. So when we look at human beings, therefore, you find that in every one of us, there's that God divine, what I call the divine trait of creativity. So none of us, that's why I would say, whether you are Christian or not Christian, every one of us has that trait within us. Now, some people have a bigger dose than others. That is for a fact. They got a little more. Just like in our own children, you may find that if, for example, you are an astute businessman, your tendencies were towards doing business, you'll find that one of your children takes after you and is is an astute businessman and perhaps even better than you are or similar to you. But there will be this other one who is not there. I mean, that's not their area, but they're still your children. So we all have that creative gift within us, that creative trait within us. Some have more than others. So that answers whether you are Christian or not, you are created in the image of God.
Of God.
Creative.
All right.
The Christian aspect is the fact that when you become a believer, that image of God is restored from its distortion, because sin distorted the image of God in us. So we use our creativity to create bad things. We use our creativity for destructive purposes at times. But when you become a Christian, then your creativity tends towards the good thing. Take, for example, music. If we are musically oriented, all of us. Now, there are people who are creative in the area of music, whether they are Christians or not. Now, how do they use that creativity? If you are not a Christian, you use that creativity for creating all manner of crazy kind of music. But it is a gift that is from God. If you become a Christian, then that gift is now used for positive music that edifies, that builds. So that is the big difference from a spiritual perspective.
All right.
Having said that, then there is also the whole issue of developing the gift that is within you. Paul tells Timothy, stir into flame the gift that is within you. So whereas many of us, all of us, let me say, are creative, but because we have not stirred up that creative juice within us, then you find that you are happy with the ordinary. You are happy with what status quo. If there was no possibility of developing your creative and innovative skills, there would be no point of this discussion, because then we just operate the way we were found. Me, I'm never creative, I'm not innovative, so I just go the way I am. But the fact that it is possible to develop our creative skills, to develop our innovative skills, that's why we have this discussion, that everyone of us can then look into ways and means of becoming a little more creative, seeing opportunities through which we can develop new ideas, and that's why we are here.
That's why we're here, so that we can develop these gifts that are within us. So all of us, made in the image of God, believer or no believer, all of us can be creative, and we can have some innovations if we develop that gift.
True.
All right.
Well put.
Okay, Bishop, go ahead. You wanted us to start on something different?
Yes, we are going to start on something different, and just again thinking about the situation that we find ourselves in. I'm trying to be as helpful and practical in this situation as possible. So we are going to look at what we have previously discussed, perhaps not in much detail, and this is what we call contingency leadership, or situational leadership, or adaptive leadership. There are several ways of referring to it. Adaptive leadership, where this is based on the theory that effective leadership is a leadership that adapts to a situation where the situation where the leader finds him or herself. And so, depending on what kind of situation you find yourselves, it will call for different styles of leadership or different approaches of leadership for you to be effective. And so we find ourselves right now in different kinds of environment. We are not operating. In fact, what the common word now is that we are in a new normal. A new normal, it means that we have been disrupted from what we were used to. So situational leadership or adaptive leadership then becomes very useful in understanding how do I navigate where I find myself. How do we conduct ourselves in this kind of a situation that I find myself? So we want to discuss or talk about contingency or adaptive leadership in these next few sessions. But we'll go a little further than we had gone before. We again, as we have said, we have been in this thing. You said 7 years. We have actually been more than 7 years. We started in 2009. It is almost almost 10, actually more than 10 years.
And it's 10 plus, yes.
10 plus years. So many of the things that we are discussing, we have discussed before, but we are aware that there are people who joined us along the way after we have discussed some of these things, and even those who heard, maybe it will be a revision.
And then for me, I can tell you, Bishop, I sometimes listen and I'm thinking, you didn't say that. So it's always new. It's always very new, even for me, who's been there for the 11 years.
Yes. So
Yes.
we are repeating ourselves, but every time we are discussing this, we go a little deeper than what we did previously. So today we want to talk about contingency leadership. And I want to talk about a different kind of contingency leadership than we had discussed before. And so this may also be new for some of us, is called the 3D contingency leadership, or the 3D model of contingency leadership. This was developed quite a while back. Back in 1967, it is that old, but it has evolved into different kinds of leadership. It was developed by one man called Redin. So it's called Redin's 3D model. And basically, first of all, contingency, situational or adaptive leadership is premised on the fact that different situations call for different styles or approaches of leadership. So you cannot apply the same kind of leadership style or approach to every situation that you find yourself in. That is the basic premise. So the effectiveness of a leader will depend on the style that they use in that particular situation. So each situation calls for a different style of leadership. Now, in the contingency theory, if you indulge me a bit to go a bit theoretical and philosophical here, from a leadership perspective, is that the leaders are characterized or categorized into two groups. All leaders are grouped into two categories. They are either task-oriented or people-oriented. So there are people-oriented leaders and task-oriented leaders. And I think many of us would know that that is basically the contingency theory. So the leadership that a person will use in a situation will be either a task orientation or a people orientation. So the 3D model then uses these two dimensions, but adds a third dimension, which we will be looking at. So that's why it is called 3D. So it is not just a simple people or task orientation, but there is a third dimension, which we'll look at in this discussion. So the essential difference between less effective types of leadership in the 3D model and the more effective types of leadership lies on the extent to which a leader's style, that is the combination of task and relationship, fits the demands of the situation or the style of the demand of the situation. And therefore, there are 3 dimensions to that. The first one, of course, is the style that is demanded by the job or by the task. The second one is the task, is the style that is demanded by the superiors, your leaders that are above you. And the third one is the style that is demanded by your subordinates or your followers, as we call them in this forum. So that's what makes the 3D, the 3-dimension to this adaptive leadership. What does your job require of you? What kind of style, therefore, should you apply in order for you to deliver in your job or to be effective in your job? But your effectiveness is not all that is required. On your job is not all that is required of you. There are the demands that come from your superior or your superiors, your supervisors. So depending on what kind of person who is above you, their demands upon you, sometimes you may find that are not in line with the demands of the job. And so how do you align the demands of your supervisor or your boss, if we use ordinary language, with the demands of the job? For you to be able to do that, then you must align those 2 demands so that you can achieve what is expected of you in that situation. But in the process, you are not acting alone. Because you are a leader, you are leading other people. And the people that you are leading are also expecting you to treat them in a particular way. And so you are caught in between here, where you have the demand of the job, you have the demand of your supervisor, and you have the demand of your subordinates. That's what makes the 3D. So how you then act in that situation? You bring these 3 dimensions into the situation you find yourself in, is what will determine how successful you are as a leader. And it is not always easy to balance the 3, make your boss happy, make your subordinates happy, and achieve
and do the job. Do the job and do it well.
Do your job and do it well. So be effective in your job. So this is what then requires you, therefore, in every situation that you find yourself as a leader, to think carefully how you conduct yourself, what style you bring into the task or the situation that you are leading people in. So there are issues then therefore you need to take into account, and the approaches that different people bring into this kind of a situation so that they can be effective in their leadership. And that is what I want us to just discuss briefly as we get into this 3-dimensional or 3D leadership. I don't know whether it is clear. I know it's a bit complex. Whether
it is clear.
It is clear.
It is clear. It is clear. You have said, let me see whether we got it. You have said that the premise, the assumption is that leaders are grouped into 2, task-oriented and people-oriented. So this model is coming with a third group. So in dividing that, then we talk of the styles that are demanded by 3 things: task, the leaders of this leader or the superiors, and number 3, the subordinates. So the people-oriented has been divided into two, the superiors and the followers.
Right. And now when we come to the superiors, sometimes you may not be under any superior, though everybody, as we have said before, that every leader must have a superior. But in a situation where, for example, you are the top of everything,
The president.
under that would be what we call the corporate philosophy. What is the how do we do things here? That would then become your superior, as it were. That is what would fall into that. If you have
Like
a superior,
like a constitution, for example.
not necessarily a constitution, but is more like a culture.
Okay.
The culture of the organization.
Okay.
This is how we do things here.
All right. Okay.
That's the culture. So sometimes it is not just the person who is above you, but the culture and expectations of the organization. So if you start operating in a different way, people will begin to look, but we don't do things like that here.
Yes.
This is not how we do things. So that becomes like a demand in itself. But in some cases, it is an actual person who is looking at you and saying, no, that's not what I expect of you. So in that particular area there, it could either be the philosophy and culture of the organization, or actually a combination of both, or you are superior, which is determining, so it's creating for you parameters that you possibly cannot maneuver out of, because there are ways in which you are expected to do things, and that expectation could be by your superior as a person, or by the culture of the organization within which you are operating. So people know that CITAM does things in a particular way. So when you come in and begin to do things in a different way, even it is not your superior who will respond and say, no, the CITAM doesn't do things like that. How comes you are doing this? So that is a constraint. It's a constraint on how you operate in a given situation. So that in that middle one, it's that, it could be the organization itself, culture, or it could be an actual supervisor or superior who is above you, or both, who are demanding of you to do things in a particular way. Then in terms of the style of the subordinates, there's the expectation of the subordinates or your followers, their expectation of you, that you will treat them in a particular way, you will respond to them in a particular way, you will support them in a particular way. So all these are expectations that your subordinates bring to you in a given situation. So when you are faced with a situation like now the corona pandemic, there are expectations that your followers have of you, how you will handle them, how you will respond to them, how you will treat them, and all that. Those are their expectations. And depending on what you do, you could have their support or lose their support. So that is an expectation. So in a given situation, therefore, you have to know, what do my people expect of me? And some of their expectations may be outside of your normal conduct as a leader and as an individual, as a person. But beyond that, there is also their own style of doing things. So in the subordinate one, there is, again, is broken into two. It is not just their expectation of you, but it is their way of doing things. So you may find that their way of doing things is different from your way of doing things. How do you marry the two in order for you to be an effective leader? So the 3D approach to leadership takes into account, there are actually 5 factors, but grouped into 3. One is, of course, your own job requirements. The second is your superior or organizational expectation. And then the third is the expectation of the people that you lead, giving you the 3 dimension. The second one and the third one can be divided into 2.
All right.
Them so that they are 5.
Okay. You were going to the approaches?
Yes. So we are going to people who have now studied this situational leadership from the 3-dimensional model have observed that leaders then come with different approaches. And we can group them into 2. The less effective approaches. There are people who take an approach, but has been found that it is not as effective. The ineffective approaches have been grouped into, let me say, 3 or 4. One is what is called the deserter.
Okay. Like deserting a job. The deserter.
The deserter often displays lack of interest in both task and relationships. When faced with a situation, especially a difficult situation, a corona COVID-19 kind of situation, they lose interest in the task, they lose interest in the relationships. So it's like they throw their hands up in the air and they could desert. Is it desert or desert?
They could actually leave. They could leave.
Three meanings. There's desert, there's desert, and there's desert.
Running away. That one of throwing in the towel.
Yes.
It's the one you mean.
People throw in the towel. So they lose interest in both the task and the people, and just throw up their hands, and so they become ineffective only because of that lack of interest, and because in their loss of interest in the task and the relationship, they affect the morale of the people. So you can imagine a leader in this kind of a situation, like the COVID-19 we found ourselves in, which has come with a lot of complexities and a lot of demands, unusual demands.
Yeah.
And the leader then simply throws up their hands and says, this is too complicated, this is more than I can handle, and they desert the situation. Now, the people that are led, the members of the organization, what are they to do in that situation? They cannot move forward. They lose morale, they lose their psyche. Even if they could have exerted themselves, they simply cannot move forward. And so that is why the ineffectiveness of the deserter. So in this kind of model, approach to situational leadership, a person looks at the situation, they feel they can't do anything about it, and they throw up their hands and just leave it. And there are people.
Yes, it definitely sounds ineffective.
Very ineffective.
So we have begun from what is really, really ineffective.
Yeah, because we want to go to the upwards to the effective models.
So has this leader resigned? I'm just curious. Have they, in essence, resigned? Have they tendered in their resignation? Is that what they've done? Or they are still there and doing nothing?
They could resign on the job.
On the job?
Yes, they are leaders. They are, if, for example, and this happens a lot when the leader is not the top leader.
Okay. All right.
So that
Let me pick it up.
you are leading a department, you are
Yes.
leading a branch, you are leading, you are not the top leader of the organization.
Let me just pick it up, Bishop. Allow me to just pick it up so that the radio listener can take the news highlights at 12. And we will be back shortly with the leadership forum. We pick it up from these approaches that Bishop is giving us in just a while. We'll take a break. Please don't go away. We will be back with more on these approaches of 3D contingency leadership style. So for the radio listener then, you are welcome to continue listening to the news highlights. And for you who are with us online, it's time also to take a short break. But I would like to just appreciate those of you that signed in and sent us some postings to say that you were with us, tuned in and enjoying the show. Came from Owili Charles, and we are grateful, Charles, that you were able to join us at the point you did. Ruth Wangare, always glad to see you, Ruth, a very consistent listener, especially when we've been on Facebook and you're following and asking that God would give us more grace. Thank you. Thank you also, Kamau Joel. You're a bit late. We began this a little bit like a month ago. Yes. So when you say you are finally seeing us on the screen, that's a bit late because we began quite some time ago. Thank you, Serene Transporters, tuning in from the Gulf of Arabs. Wow. Thank you, Serene Transporters, for tuning in as you transport. And thank you, Dimax, saying that you're getting a lot of enlightening tune in from Kamarok. That's Lona. And thank you, Lona. Thank you, Laureen Watiti, enjoying the session. Thank you, Benna, Lintari, Julie, Ashioya, as always, watching. And we are grateful for you, Julie. We are grateful for you, Jessica Mutange, also tuned in for the Leadership Forum by Bishop. And you're tuned in from Muguga. That's Carrie. Thank you. Clinton Ntigamu. All right, Clinton, I think yours is a different situation. We will see how we can help later on. But there is Emily who is listening from Suntan in Kasarani. And God bless you, man of God. You told the bishop, I'll say amen on his behalf. Now, if you have questions, as we get back to more of your comments, when Bishop will be joining us, we'll be getting to more of your questions also. And you can send in your question the same way. Our hashtag is Hope FM Live. Hope FM Live. And you can send in your questions. You can also send your questions on Twitter, handle at Hope FM Live. And you can also send them on the SMS line 20933. Either way, we will be looking up at those questions in just a while. After a short break, we will be back to continue with matters to do with leaders and their followers. I was saying welcome back, and I hope you have enjoyed the short break that we had for you there as our radio listeners got updated on the news highlights at 12. So we're back so that we can continue with more of the Leadership Forum. And just before we do that, thank you once again for your comments. Bishop, before we pick it up where we left it, there is this comment from Paul. He commented when we were talking about dealing with corruption in the nation, and he was saying that he thinks this can be a good solution. Listen to this. It may be actually a good, what do you call it, innovation. He is saying, supposing it was said that within 90 days, a case of corruption has to have been handled and concluded, that would limit the time. And so what you were saying, that people can step down at that point that they are mentioned, then within 90 days they are cleared and they can come back. What do you think?
Good idea.
Good idea?
Yeah.
You see, we are thinking, we're being innovative.
Amen.
Yeah, we're being innovative. Yes, Chris Wambua is asking again for the leadership book that we talked about last week by yourself. He puts it this way: the book that Dr. Oginde referred to last week that he co-authored with his PhD friends. Kindly remind the name as well as how one can access it.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I thought you were going to tell them.
Yeah, someone has actually told them. I especially wanted to talk about how to access it. Just
It's
once again, how, yes.
It's called True Leadership, and you can find it on Amazon. Whether you want a hard copy or a digital copy, both are available on Amazon as at this point. It only came out last week, so it's not yet distributed physically to various bookshops. So you can only access it at the moment, both digitally and physically. They can send it to you. Amazon ships books across the world, so they can ship it to you. And it's called True Leadership. The authors that you will find there will be John Wilson and Dave Pelz. That's what will be on the cover. So you will not see David Oginde on the cover. Those are the editors. Those are the people who, because it's a compilation of different contributors, so all of them can't appear on the cover. So two of us were picked on to be the ones whose names appear on the cover as editors, because they were the ones who are coordinating us. So you'll find John Wilson. So if you look for True Leadership by John Wilson, you'll find the book.
And we will find you inside there.
Inside there in chapter 4.
In chapter 4, yes. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank
Virginia Mwangi, you're tuned in. Sorry, Bishop, I cut you short there.
Thank you for the interest.
Oh yeah, we are interested. We're very interested, even though we are also interested with the one you've been promising us, the one you will do, and we will search for it because it's by you. We will look for it with the author being Bishop. Okay, we will look for it that way.
Coming. It's coming.
It's coming. Yes, Jeff Arumba was saying also a comment on corruption, saying that the problem, it seems to him, is that corruption is rewarded. And he says it's a sad fact to say that those mentioned also become famous and later they vie for political seats and we vote them in.
So who is to blame?
The voter, I think. The voter.
There was an article yesterday that said that in Kenya, people vote by tribe, not by values or by anything, principles. So if my candidate is a corrupt person, that we will consider later. Yeah.
First of all, which tribe do they belong to?
The tribe is my people.
So then the stronghold is the tribe. It's this tribe thing.
Yes. It's this tribe thing.
Very sad.
Very sad, but true.
We need deliverance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. True.
I'm seeing Samson writes Samson Diplomatic Kayaba. Good morning, Bishop. He says, I'm watching from Nigeria, and his name is Samson. We appreciate you watching us. Yes, this afternoon, all the way from Nigeria. Thank you for that. And there's the other one from the Gulf of Arabs, and we are grateful also for that. Wherever you're listening to us, we are grateful that you could watch, you could listen to us in whichever forum you're listening, whether that is on Facebook or on YouTube, like our SP Lajaki. I saw you listening on YouTube or Instagram, or else listening to us on radio, like has been the case before we began this online time. Gertrude Amisi said, good morning, Bishop. And Get Him, Juana said, tuned in at the sofa. Okay, that's a great thing about that. You can tune in even from the sofa. Adis, Janet, watching and ready to learn. Thank you for that. Liz, thank you. Waeni, Jerusha, Jiro, and so many others of you. I may not get to all of your comments, but I'm grateful indeed that you're watching. Bishop, so we began on the approaches. I think we can now take it up. And let me just tell you what Mose Kefa said. He said, I like listening to this, Pastor. He likes listening to you, Pastor.
Thank you. Amen. There are two pastors in the studio, if you didn't know.
No, he likes listening to you. And we are grateful, Bishop. We really are grateful for the time that you take. So we began with the ineffective approaches.
Yes.
To 3D. So we say that the first one is the deserter, just deserted, even though he may still continue sitting on the seat of leadership.
And
but
they are doing nothing about the situation.
Yes, the hands are out
What did you expect me to do?
How can a leader do that?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the deserter.
Yes, he has affected the morale of the people, you said, obviously. Yes.
Yes.
All right.
He affects the morale of the people. Not very good.
What is his rationale, by the way? Why would he think of doing nothing and he's the leader?
You remember we said that there are three factors. That's why it's called a 3D. There's what is expected of the job, what is the superiors expect, and what the subordinates expect. When these three factors are put together, some people get overwhelmed. They are not able to see how to align all these three things together. The job, this is what my job description says, this is what I'm supposed to do, but this is what my supervisor is saying, which may be a bit out of line with what I'm expected to do. But this is what my followers are also saying. They want me to do this and the other. And when they look at it, they just throw up their hands. I mean, it's impossible. It's impossible. So it is that mixing these three things, these three dimensions of leadership that causes some people to give up.
Okay.
They are not lazy. They are not necessarily irresponsible, but they just do not know how to juggle these three expectations, these three dimensions.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's what causes them to
do nothing.
do nothing. I mean, this is what my job description says. Now, you have heard what the boss is saying. That, yeah.
Yes.
And the people I'm working with, this is what they are expecting of me. So what do you want me to do now?
I can't cut myself into pieces, can I?
Exactly. So that's why they then desert this
Wow.
the job, because of that kind of frustration, in a
Okay.
sense.
All right. We will come back to them so that we kind of, just in case we were talking to someone who is right there as we talk about some situation in their organization, so that we show them how do you deal with being overwhelmed. What's the solution to them? But I think I would like us to come back to it. We can go to the number 2, ineffective.
Yes.
All
The
right.
number 2 is we call missionary.
That's a nice name, missionary. Why is it ineffective?
The missionary is more concerned about harmony, good relationships, and these considerations of what people think. And their desire is to see themselves as being good people, good leaders, that I am liked by everybody. So, because of that desire to be liked by people, they tend to do nothing that will disrupt their lives or their expectations. So they will do whatever they can to maintain good relationships and a good perspective. They love being told, we just appreciate you. You know, you are doing a great job. You you are a wonderful person. So even there, they can see that this thing is going into the ditch. But that desire to be loved and to be appreciated makes them to be effective. Because as a leader, sometimes you have to take tough decisions that people don't like. But the missionary will not do that. Because what will people think? How will people feel? The worst thing they want to hear is that we don't like what you did. That was not good. That was so inconsiderate. They don't want to hear those kinds of things.
They want everybody happy.
Yes, make everybody happy. You are a good person.
So I can see what this does. Just thinking around what you had already given us, it can get first of all, it can get a conflict between what the leader of the missionary wants and what the follower wants. There can be a conflict there, but I can
And
also
what
see
the
that
job demands.
I can see that being the first casualty. The task will be the first
Yes,
casualty here.
what the task demands, what
Yes.
the leader expects versus what the subordinates want. And by the way, this feeling of good can also be towards the leader.
Yes.
They want, when they go to the leader's office, to be told, you are doing a good job. I just like the way you work. I like, even when they know they are not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But if the leader is happy, the subordinates are happy, he or she is happy, because that's where they thrive. But it may not necessarily be true that they are doing the right thing. They may be doing a good thing, but not the right thing. Yes. It's like a driver being told, I just like the way you are driving. You seem to know how to control the vehicle. I like the way you give people space. You don't jump the lights. You are so good. But they are going in the wrong direction.
So why would anyone say that they like how they are driving?
Because
Seriously.
you don't know where we are going. You are a passenger. You don't know where you don't know the route.
Or he is supposed to have known the route.
Yes, he knows the route, or he's supposed to know the route. You as a passenger in the vehicle, you just like the way the vehicle is being driven. You just like,
But you'll never get there.
you'll never get there because we are going in the wrong direction.
Oh dear.
We are going in the wrong direction. But they love that. So they may find that they are lost or they're going in the wrong direction. But because they don't want to tell the passengers that I think we are lost, they keep going. Because just to be told now, how could you get lost? That is so bad. I mean, so would rather keep going. Perhaps we will find a way somewhere there in the future.
But wouldn't it be just a matter of time before it is clear to all that we had lost the way, that you didn't know where you are going, even if you made us happy and comfortable, it was fake.
That is why they're called missionaries, because they always have a hopeful future.
By the way, who called them missionaries? This is not justice. Justice to the missionary calling. Who called them that?
They have this hopeful future that things will be okay eventually.
Oh my
Things
goodness.
will be okay eventually. Though they can see that things are not working now,
Yeah.
but will be okay eventually. We will find a connection to the right route, but I can't tell my people that we are lost. I mean, what will they think of me?
Okay. I still think we could look for another word to describe them.
Unfortunately, that is what Redding called it, so we will go with it for now.
All right then.
Yeah. But you can see these kinds of leaders, and they are all over the place, by the way, are people who do not want to face reality, people who do not want to confront mistakes or evils because of this desire to appear good and nice. So they let people go with wrongs, let people do crazy things, but they do nothing about it. They do nothing about it. So eventually this organization, this department will run aground. You cannot keep doing that. People are stealing. You're doing nothing about it. People are making all kinds of mistakes. You're doing nothing about it simply because you want to be nice. So this niceness is what will eventually cause you not to be successful in your leadership. And as I said, there are many of us, let me say many of us who are like that, missionaries, who just love pleasing people. They are called people pleasers. They just love pleasing people, making people happy. A person may come, your subordinate may come and say, this is what we need to do, and this is how we need to go about it. And you can see what they are asking you is not right. But you don't want to disappoint them because they are the ones in the front line. So you'll say, yeah, just go ahead. Just go ahead. That sounds good. When you know in your spirit, it is not good. But getting the courage to say no is what they lack. This missionary guy. Yeah.
All right. All right.
So eventually people will lose faith when they discover that they don't know what they are doing and they are not leading us in the right direction. Like you say, it is a matter of time. It's a matter of time, and they will be shown for who they are. The next one is the autocrat or the dictator.
Yes, okay. It is still ineffective. We are on the third
Ineffective, yes.
approach. Okay.
This person is so focused on achieving their goals that they don't care who they ride over. The immediate task before them is the greatest consideration in any situation. So you may find that they not only run over people, but they will also run over policies and structures and systems. So they will have no regard for, number two, their superiors, and number three, their subordinates. And we said the superior can be the organization itself, the systems, the culture, the ways of doing things. So they will overlook the procedures, the policies that have been put in place in order to accomplish the task that is before them. So if you ask why they did not follow policy, why they did not follow procedure, it is the kind of people who say the end justifies the means.
Yes.
This thing was so urgent, we needed to do it quickly. And so I knew that the process would be delayed. So this is why I took this direction. So they disregard the systems, the structures, the organizational culture of ways of doing things. They will disregard the persons that they lead. What I need is this thing to be done and done quickly. You may come and say, I'm not feeling so very well. Let's discuss that tomorrow. Right now,
This has to be done.
it's work. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the autocrat. This is, yes. So what happens is that people then end up fearing him, but not liking him or respecting him. So that's usually very tricky, because people do things because they're afraid of you. So when you ask them to do something, they will go quickly and do it because they fear the consequences of being considered to be disobedient. But that feeds into their whole system, thinking that people are happy with the way he's leading. Everybody does what he says. And so I begin to feel that I must be doing well. All of my people are very loyal and obedient, but they are actually operating out of fear. So you will find, therefore, that this person ends up in a slippery slope where they keep getting worse and worse. And this is how autocratic leadership gets into what we call destructive leadership, because they are so focused on achieving their goals in their own way that they end up becoming destructive.
The autocrat.
The autocrat. And there are many around us.
But this autocrat will actually get the job done.
They'll get the job done in their way.
Everybody else will be left bleeding.
They will get the job done in their way. Remember, they are overriding the supervisor, if it's a person, or the organization, policies and principles. The systems and structures that have been put in place will be overlooked in the effort of accomplishing a task. The people that are under, who are working with him in the team, will also be overlooked or forced to do things their way. That is the leader's way. So it's either my way, as they say, or a highway.
All right.
But eventually things are done, like you're saying, things are done. But were they done the right way?
No.
Were the processes followed? So what happens is eventually, if it's an organization, either people resign, leave the team, they don't want to be part of this department, part of this organization, and like Maxwell says, people don't. I think it's whether Maxwell or yeah, I'm not sure the right person, but they say that people don't leave organizations; they leave leaders. So somebody will just come and say, I think my time is up. I need to move on. But basically what they're saying is, I can't work with you. Yeah. The autocrats.
All right.
Let me do
another one.
The fourth one, and then we can pick some questions.
Yes.
Is the compromiser. The compromiser is caught between building relationships and accomplishing tasks. And so they find it difficult to make decisions. They will neither make decisions towards a task or towards a relationship because they want both. And situations don't always give you opportunity to please both the task and the relationships. So they make decisions that will sometimes only accomplish half the task because their ambivalence creates this situation where people are not sure what they need to do because the leader is never certain. You come to him or her and say, this is the situation we find ourselves in, and you relate what the situation is like, and you ask, so what do you think we should do? And they ask you, what do you think we should do? And
that's not a bad question, is it?
it is not a bad question. It only becomes a bad question if that question is meant to find out what you are leaning towards and then go with your opinion. You know?
Yes.
So it is not meant to get information and data and from you as a person who is on the ground. It is meant to find out where are you leaning? And since you are the one who is on the ground, I do not want to offend you, even though I want the task accomplished. So I will give you a half-hearted advice, that does not offend you, but also could hopefully accomplish the task. These are the people, when you come back to them when things have not worked and say, but it was your idea, you are the one who came up with this. So they can never take responsibility because it was your idea anyway, So that ambivalence compromises clear direction in a given situation. And in the long run, it reduces productivity and effectiveness. Because a leader should listen objectively to the person, the situation, analyze it, and come up with a decision, whether it is favorable or not favorable, but it is the right decision that will accomplish the task and move us forward. That is what leadership is all about. So when a person is so ambivalent, is so non-committal, it only leaves the leaders, the team members, in a state of confusion because they are not sure. You may have come to my office to seek advice, but even after you leave, you are more confused than when you came because you are really not sure what I said. You have gone out wondering, so what did he really mean? I mean, what am I supposed to do? that is a compromiser. It is.
You know, when you say that they are caught between building relationships and accomplishing tasks, I had thought to myself, well, here we go now. This is the good balance. I had thought that this person will
No,
give us balance.
we didn't say that they balance between what should be done and the person relationships. We
You
don't
said
talk about
they are
they are
caught
caught in
between.
between. They are in this strain, this dilemma. Do I please my team member or do I accomplish the task?
Oh, it's a dilemma.
It's a dilemma, yes.
Not a
They are
balance,
in
it's a
dilemma.
dilemma.
It is not
Okay.
a balance. It is a dilemma.
We'll never define the balance. I'm curious.
Maybe when we get to the effective models, we
Okay.
will see how that happens.
All right.
So these are the ineffective models of the 3D adaptive or contingency leadership that many leaders find themselves in. And so if you are a compromiser, basically it means that you become indecisive. That is the word that describes them. They are very indecisive because on the one hand, they want to maintain relationship. On the other hand, they want the task accomplished. But when the two are against each other, they don't know what to do. And that's what makes it very difficult for them. They are okay as long as it is one or the other.
They'll be fine.
That will be fine. If it is clear cut, if I tell you this, it will make you happy, but it will get the job done. That is okay. We will go with it quickly. If the task will be accomplished and you don't mind making the decision and going with it, we will be okay. But when it is a tension between my relationship with you and what the task requires, then I am caught in between. Then I say, you just do what you think is right. Just go ahead. You can do it.
Okay.
Then you go out there not knowing exactly what I should do.
All right. Okay. Let's now go back to all of them. So we have 4 of them. Who all 4 are ineffective. We have the deserter. We have the missionary. What a pretty name for a rather poor leader here. We have the autocrat or the dictator. And finally, we have the compromiser who still misses the mark of balance. He's just in a dilemma. So all 4, and let me at this point say hi to Sue Morgan, listening to us from South Africa, and Beth Wokabi, who has a question and was asking, what is the role of the church in shaping our country's leadership? Perhaps we can take that as a short break, and then I get back to the deserter. And I will be asking you, maybe you can be thinking through it. I'll be asking for examples of each, perhaps in scripture or in our contemporary scenario. Okay, so back to Beth's question, the role of the church in shaping Kenya's leadership.
The church has a prophetic role, and I think we talked about this in our last session, that the church is the conscience of the nation. We are supposed to come alive when things are not going right. Otherwise, we remain quiet. We remain okay. As long as things are going okay, we allow leaders to do what they have been called to do by God, because the Bible says governors are also servants of God. I don't mean governors of the counties, but people in government are servants of God. That's what Paul calls them in Romans. So as long as they are doing their calling, they are fulfilling their calling and doing the right thing, the church really has no major role in the day-to-day activities other than complementing that which the government is doing, getting into charity work, ensuring that people are living uprightly, and so on and so forth, which is our daily responsibility. But when things go wrong, then we must come alive, because we are the conscience of the nation. We are like the light bulb of the nation that should rise up in that situation and say things are not going right, and bring the "thus says the Lord" into that situation. So that is the responsibility of the church.
Thank you. As a prophetic voice.
Yes.
All right. Sapani is asking, is this question about styles? Maybe. Let me just read it for you, Bishop. Please calm down or comment, let's use the word comment, on how Tanzania has handled Corona. This president of Tanzania, what style is this? What style is that in terms of how he has handled Corona?
I'll comment in two ways. One is that I don't know, because we don't have the facts. We do not have all the data. You can only give a conclusive analysis if you have all the data. So far, what comes out of Tanzania, from where I sit, maybe other people sitting somewhere else receive other information. So far, all that I have received or heard from Tanzania is by the president himself. I have not heard any other person, any other voice speaking about the situation in Tanzania. I have seen a lot of clips that have come out of Tanzania, but all of them, the ones I've seen, are the president himself talking. So I cannot analyze that without an independent voice that is also saying, this is what is happening in Tanzania. This is how things are going on in Tanzania. So that is a disclaimer that I must give. So I cannot give a conclusive, authoritative analysis that is based on facts and comprehensive facts. But having said that, the little that we get from the president himself is that he has approached the whole COVID-19 situation with a very positive approach, if I put it that way, to galvanize the people to stand together against this common enemy. And he has taken a spiritual approach to it. And so, like I said, all the clips that I have received, he's talking about God. I don't know which other ones that there may be, whether he's talking about something else. So that's why I say that my analysis, therefore, it has limitations, like we say in research. There are limitations to these conclusions, because we don't have all the relevant data. So he has taken a very spiritual approach to it. And I said that right from the beginning, when the information began trickling, especially at that time when they were still doing testings. But he came out very strongly, even as they were doing the tests, that they are trusting God as Tanzanians, that this thing, God will help them, and so on. And I said at that time that I associate myself with that position. And I believe that God, when God is called upon, when his name is invoked, he does come through. That is what you see, whether you are Christians or not, whether you are a God-fearing nation or not. When the top leader of an organization, when the top leader of a nation invokes the name of Jehovah God, he comes through. We see that in Nineveh. We see that in other let me not call it non-Christian, because they were not Christian nations in the Old Testament, but those who did not believe in Jehovah. But when they called on the name of Jehovah, Jehovah came through for them. God came through for them. So I believe that God, having been lifted up in Tanzania, has come through for Tanzania. But with the disclaimer that I gave.
You don't know everything. You don't know enough.
I don't know enough. I
You
don't know. I can't know everything, but I don't have enough information to tell you for a fact, even what I have said, to tell you categorically that this is the situation, because I don't have facts, and the facts that I have are biased in the sense that the person we are evaluating is the only source of the information.
All right.
Yes.
But so where does that place him in terms of that? We have only one source of information there. Does that say anything?
When we come to the next set of models, because I would not put President Magufuli in the list of ineffective.
Okay.
Because I think he is effective. From again, with the little data that I have, the little information that I have, I would put him on the side of effective leaders.
Okay.
Yes. So I would therefore not put him in any of the four categories that we have already talked about. Because in my view, with all his, call it mistakes or shortcomings and so on, there's a sense in which he is effective.
Okay.
He has managed to rally the country together. He has managed to overcome a serious obstacle to the growth and development of the nation. So in that sense, I would say he's effective. Now, what we would analyze is whether that process was the best or not. And that we'll discuss in the next set of models.
All right. Let me thank Shiro Grace in Mumbai, India. Says she just bumped into this. I just saw this live and she's just excited. We are also excited, Grace, that you are able to get us all the way from Mumbai. And Beatrice, who is listening from Riyadh in Saudi, thank you that you are also able to listen to us. Martha Kilonzo, yes, you can now get us on what are they called? Yes, you can get the recording of this. And so watch the space, and you can always
on demand. You can
on demand, and when you want to. I wanted us, before we wind up, I'm being given these cues that tell me time is running out. Before we get there, Bishop, I had wanted to hear some examples, whether from scripture, like of a deserter, a leader that deserted. Got too overwhelmed. Yes, got too overwhelmed, just deserted.
Saul comes to mind. King Saul.
All right.
On two occasions. One is the confrontation with the Philistines in the time of Goliath. The Bible says that the army was there with Israel camping on one side and the Philistines on the other, and Goliath taunting the people of Israel. And nobody was doing anything. And the king was in the palace. You know, he did not come to intervene. I guess because the situation that he found himself in, because we are talking about situational leadership, the situation he found himself in, really, he did not know what to do.
Yes.
And so he simply sat in the palace and hoped that something will happen somewhere along the way. Well, his hope was fulfilled in the coming of David, though I don't think that is what he expected. But you would one would have imagined that even when David came to him and offered to go and fight this giant, that him as the king, because in his own words he said, "This man has fought all his years, an experienced fighter. You are only a boy." That he would have followed his very words to say, "Is that the situation on the field? Let me go myself. You are only a boy. Don't leave this to me."
Wow.
I have over the years, so I'm the one who is equal
to this task.
But you find him in a situation where he left his people to the mercy of the Philistines until a young boy had to come and intervene.
Oh.
To me, that is desertion. That is desertion.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
it is. Yes,
so that comes to mind because the story of David and Goliath, of course, we would have missed it if Saul had intervened and done what the king was expected to do in that situation.
Yes.
But unfortunately, he didn't do it. And so David took the stage. And you do know that, on the other hand, he was also a people pleaser. You know, he had this desire to be called good and nice. And
songs for, that people can sing songs.
So when they were now singing the songs of David, he is ready to go to war. He's ready to leave the palace and pursue this young man through the deserts, through the caves, in the forests. He was ready to fight David, but he was not ready to fight Goliath.
Amazing. Yes, think of that. Amazing. Yes.
Do you remember? You remember when after he had been sent to go and destroy the Amalekites, and he did not do the right thing, and then he's confronted by Saul, by Samuel.
By Samuel, yes.
Yes, by Samuel, and he's told that the kingdom is taken away from you. What still amazes me is that he asked Samuel rather, that if he could just go and say something nice to the elders.
Public relations were so important for him.
That was what people think about him was so important.
Yeah, God has just rejected him.
The prophet has come and brought a terrible message. And he says, that's all right. Just go and talk nicely to the elders about me. I imagine that if that was the case with David, and we find David also in a similar kind of situation, when Nathan confronted him, he dropped down in prayer and crying out to God for forgiveness and mercy. I imagine if Saul had done that, possibly the kingdom would not have been taken away from him.
Maybe.
Yeah. But what his concern was what people think. So you go there and tell people that I'm okay.
That's what mattered.
That's what mattered to him.
We will wind it there on a sad note of Saul as King Saul, the first king of Israel, as a deserter. And we will come back, pick it up next Monday. Nimo Edwards, thank you for such lovely words there. I'm grateful. Thank you, Jeff Arumba, who says, as a leader, accept reality and confront it. That's what he says. Julius Musashi says, because I lead a group somewhere, but these people, they don't say anything good about me. And Doreen Acheng says, Bishop, you always bless my heart. And we have so many other people. Chris saying the missionary one was intriguing. Maybe we need to embrace the Jesus type of missionary leadership, which declares, I have come to disrupt the system, not to make peace, but to cause conflict. Very interesting observations there by Chris. We will come back and pick it up next Monday. Have a blessed Monday afternoon as well as a blessed week ahead. I'm Wambui Mburu, and thank you, Bishop Oginde, for your time and always for the great lessons that we're learning on the Leadership Forum. On air every Monday at Hope FM.
Amen.
So what do you do when all that you have is so many questions, but no answers? A lot of issues that need explanation. Constant seeking, constant asking, constant knocking, but no reply.
Hello? Hello? God, are you there? Hello? God, are you there?
So what do you do when heaven seems silent? Did you know the Friends of Hope is an initiative of Hope Media? Through this initiative, we are able to partner with others who are keen to ensure that we keep hope alive. Through your support, we are sharing the hope we have with many others who are yet to embrace hope. You too can become a part of this initiative today. Send your contribution of any amount to M-Pesa paybill number 933933. Account name Friends of Hope. For more information regarding Friends of Hope, please email friendsofhope@hopefm.org or SMS FOH to 20933. Join Friends of Hope today. Friends of Hope, keeping hope alive. Another quality service from Christ is the Answer Ministries.